The actual feed is going to be shit. You guys there? Hello, hello?
All right, I reloaded my screen. It's in the showing.
It looks like we're there.
All right, can you guys hear us now?
We can get some weird. Oh, hey.
Yeah, they got us.
All right.
Yeah, sorry, we lost the connection for some reason. I think it was because we had our connection. I'm guessing it was probably on Twitch's end.
Yeah, Twitch has been a little touchy tonight. Sorry, guys. But we were just talking about merchandise and talking about the fact that I bought the wife something from Game of Thrones for our anniversary.
Yeah, and speaking of merch, really quick, I did send out a new newsletter to all of our patrons this week, and it had a whole bunch of links to some really cool merch, including one of my favorite things is some new Funko Pops celebrating the 25th anniversary of The Sandlot.
Cool. Nice, dude.
So,
All right, let's talk. Let's get to reviews and let's talk about TV. Or just coughing on my mic. No
sorry,
big
I
deal.
just totally inhaled.
fine.
So I have not had a chance to watch the first 3 episodes of Krypton yet. Have you?
No, I haven't watched it. I just was intrigued by the fact that, granted, this isn't saying a whole lot, but it has the highest ratings of any sci-fi pilot since Ascension, which is good.
Well, yeah, but if you
But
remember,
I've heard good things about it.
yeah, if you remember a few years ago when Ascension first came out, it was all over Comic-Con. It took over the
No, it took over the Sci-Fi Cafe. and
Sci-Fi
everything
Cafe,
else,
exactly. So big news. I mean, big ratings. I know that they were worried about that. I do know that for a fact that they said they are not going to cross over with the Arrowverse at all. So,
Right.
yeah, so there's that.
Well, we'll see.
This next one is interesting.
Yeah, no, this is weird. Okay, so Millie Bobby Brown,
Who plays 11.
who plays 11 in Stranger Things, it looks like she's getting nearly a $3 million raise for season 3, which
Thinking about, it's $3 million, but you got to remember it's what, 10, 12 episodes?
but it's a $3 million raise.
Right. Which means she was probably making, I'd say
One
probably,
or two?
No, I would probably
Not
say
even.
she was probably making $50,000 an episode.
You think
So
so?
which means for the season she was probably making $500,000, maybe $750,000.
Huh. I just wonder because
Well, it's very similar to like when Friends first came out. They were all making like $12,000 an episode.
right.
Granted, it was 1994, but and then it wasn't until I think season 8 where they all cumulatively bargained, and they were each getting $1 million an episode.
You were right, dude. $25,000 an episode.
Yeah, so yeah, that's usually, I mean, especially for being a child actor,
Right.
who hadn't really done much before.
Now she's gonna get about 350,000 episode.
Yeah, so you're looking at about
Wow.
$3.5 million for the season.
Over the nine episodes, Brown will make 3.15 million.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Now, the unfortunate thing is, I doubt her other people are getting as much, except for
No,
maybe
no,
the
no.
kid who was in it.
Yeah.
But that's one thing I did like about Friends, and when they did collectively bargain, where they all got the raise,
Right.
because there were some that were willing to offer $2 million to.
No, absolutely.
So they community because I mean seriously, $1 million an episode for Friends when they were on the air, they're making 24 episodes. That's $24 million
So
a
much
year.
money. Yeah, Skeen. When we were 13, I made a few mil, but no big deal.
Well, yeah, I was delivering a free newspaper.
I was mowing lawns. Anyway, Jonathan Frakes isn't convinced Quentin Tarantino's movie. I always say Frakes, but yeah, okay. Fracas isn't convinced Quentin Tarantino's movie will be made.
I honestly don't think it will. I would like to see it because
I would too.
I think he's an underrated sci-fi writer,
Yeah.
but I honestly don't think it'll get made.
So this next one is my favorite story of all time. This just came out today. Amazon's Lord of the Rings movie was the most expensive show in history.
Which is saying quite a bit because Game of Thrones is expensive.
Yeah.
Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip was really expensive.
Yeah. So check this out.
Mad Men was expensive.
So I'm going to read this first little paragraph because I think it's important kind of to build up. It says nearly 9 hours in theatrical release and over 12 in extended home releases were apparently not enough to get every last piece of enjoyment, blah, blah, blah. And it says the once believed unfilmable books were turned into less than successful animated films in the 70s and 80s, but massively successful live action films in the 2000s, thanks to Peter Jackson. Now Amazon has picked up the rights to turn it into a streaming series, and according to a fascinating new piece by a Hollywood Reporter, it's going to last at least 5 seasons and cost upwards of $1 billion. $1 billion
That's
for 5 seasons of television?
that's kind of ridiculous.
William, that's insanity is what that is. You look appalled. That's $1 billion to make TV out of a movie franchise that has already made countless millions of dollars.
Unless it's all from the point of view of the Wraiths.
I mean, I don't know, man. It's hard to. I mean, and I get.
You know, they're all they're doing is trying to fill the void of Game of Thrones with a known commodity.
I get it, but we've already seen these movies.
Yes.
What are they going to do?
And they already had diminishing returns going from The Lord of the Rings to The Hobbit.
Of course they did. The Hobbit was the shortest book, and it was also 3 movies.
Yes.
And the original trilogy, which was 4 books. No,
Okay.
3 books.
The only thing that would make
Trilogy.
this more ridiculous if they decide to say, okay, all 5 seasons are going to be devoted completely to the Silmarillion.
I want it to be one obscure short story that Tolkien wrote at some point, and they're like, we're gonna make this into a 5-season freaking TV show.
I know, right?
Like,
And then they get through halfway through the first episode, and the next 5 seasons are all ad lib.
oh my god, dude! It's when you read it and you see 1 billion over 5 years. Like, I don't know what the Game of Thrones numbers were. Clearly, they're not that high, but the
Well, think about
production
it.
values with that and some of these other, comic book TV shows we see, it's
Well, let's break.
just so much money.
Yeah, well, let's break it down a little bit because, unlike HBO and Showtime or whatever, you usually don't get a 13-episode season from Amazon. You usually
True.
get 10,
True.
right? So you're basically breaking it down for 5 seasons into 50 episodes. So 50 episodes into $1 billion, you're looking at what?
A ridiculous amount per
20 million per episode. 20 million, 200 million. times-
For the
no.
record, I am an English teacher. I did never one time in my head did the math.
So 1 billion, that's 100 million.
Uh-huh.
No, you're looking at. Seriously, why can I not do
I'm not doing it.
I can't do the math in my head.
Okay. Well, here we are. You
Yeah,
want
no, it is. I got it right the first time. 20 million an episode.
Okay.
That's ridiculous.
It's a lot of money. Anything else you want to say about that? Because I got to move on.
Ridiculous.
It's gross. I hope it's good, and I might watch it. But like, do we need movie quality? I don't know. Does it need to be the Lord of the Rings movies on the small screen every week?
No.
Not even Game of Thrones was that. There were moments where I was like, well, obviously that's a CG dragon or whatever
Right.
it is. Like, I mean, it's obvious.
I mean,
you
it's
know?
not Sci-Fi Channel, but still.
No, it could be
But-
worse.
This is where I guarantee you in next week's Hollywood Babylon, it's going to be, no
he's
thanks,
gonna-
we already got one.
Yeah, he's going to flip out. All right, so real quick, I'm going to jump through the rest of these really quickly in this section. It's Gina Rodriguez's Carmen Sandiego reboot is now a live-action movie.
And I am so excited. I am down with Carmen Sandiego.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good. And Gina Rodriguez is awesome. So we'll see how that goes.
Now, what I really hope is not necessarily I don't want it to turn into a whole universe,
Yeah.
but please, please, please purchase the rights to Waldo and have her run into Waldo on occasion.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good. All right, so...
She is his hidden informant, or he is her hidden informant. Oh, that would be awesome. Okay, sorry.
Are you done?
I'm done.
All right, so back to Gambit, because we've never talked about Gambit in the 3 years we've been running this show.
I know, right? And actually, I think I have a reason why they finally have another date. So go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. Well, it looks like Gambit's going to go into production June 19th,
Good.
according to Fox.
And I think the reason why this is happening is because, a whole bunch of stuff was getting not necessarily put on hold, but say having their feet dragged because of the whole merger with
Right.
Disney to see
Oh, that
what
makes
happened.
sense.
But because Marvel is so beholden to chronology and timelines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whereas X-Men's usually just saying, what the F, go on.
Exactly.
So, but Fox this week came out and said, I don't have the exact article, but they basically came out and said, we are giving up on timelines.
Yeah.
And we're just telling good stories.
Nice. Good.
So if this is
So
what
now
it
it's
is,
time to get back to Gambit.
yeah, and like that, and they kind of said, well, that's kind of what we started getting with Deadpool. We had a different Colossus. We
Right.
had a different, you didn't know whether you were going to get McAvoy or.
But they were awesome.
Stewart, but they were awesome. So basically, they're going to say we're not going to care about timelines, and we're just going to tell fun stories, and then Marvel can do what they want to do when they take over.
Indeed. Really quick, we're getting into Universal Usual stuff. Berlanti, all the CW shows were renewed for another season.
Yeah, we don't have any links in these show notes, but if you go to the newsletter,
Yeah.
which is also up on our Patreon page, I put all the links in
Yeah,
there.
and I purposely didn't do it. I did, there's no point, obviously. But it's Supergirl, Riverdale, Black Lightning, Arrow, Flash, Legend of Tomorrow, and Supernatural, which is like their 87th season,
Yeah, it's getting close. Actually,
Something
I
like
think
that?
it's their 16th or 15th. or something.
84th.
Yeah, well, that's how old they are.
Here we are.
Well, if
Disney news.
Yeah, if you've been wondering why we've been having something up on our screen, this week the D23 Expo dates have been confirmed for 2019. It's going to be August 20th through the 25th of 2019.
Nice.
And like I said during trailer time, I want to get press passes to this.
Don't we all? I'm in. Let's do it.
Word.
What do you
I
got?
put this one in. Okay. Neither one of us have been to Disney World since Avatar
I've never
Land
been
has
to Disney
opened.
World.
But if you remember when Avatar Land first opened, I call it Avatar Land. It's not. It's what's the name of their planet? Pandora.
Yeah.
Kevin Smith said that the Avatar ride is one of the best rides he's ever been on. And then my sister has been to Disney World since then, and she's not even an Avatar fan. She didn't care for the movie.
Yeah.
Didn't, but she said the ride was phenomenal.
Wow.
Well, there's a major industry award for ride manufacturing, and the Avatar Flight of Passage won the Outstanding Visual Effects award this year. So,
Awesome.
Good on Disney Imagineers.
It's awesome. I am. How do I want to say this? I hate everything about this idea.
Okay.
And I'm just going to say, can I say?
Go.
Can I just say? And I have not been the biggest advocate for the Disney live action remakes.
Right. This is
Right.
talking to the person who gave up on Beauty and the Beast.
I
One of the
started
top-
watching and I was like, this is the same movie.
One of the top 10 films of all time,
Bro.
money-wise.
Bro.
Brosif.
Sifa. So what I'm saying is, Disney's Lady and the Tramp is going to get a live action remake.
I'm coming as a huge Disney fan.
Are you kidding me right now?
No,
Are you
I'm going to say I'm rather indifferent to this. I don't care,
indifferent?
but no. The only
I might be angry.
no, because the more positive thing I have about this, if they're willing to go deep cuts and make Lady and the Tramp and Mulan, not that Mulan's a deep cut, but you know what I mean. These are all classics. I mean, all Disney movies are classics.
Sure.
But if they're willing to do that, then that's one step closer that we're going to get to a live action Black Cauldron movie. And that I am all in on.
That I'm excited about. All right.
Yes.
All right.
If they're going down the line, because so far we're getting close to 10 movies
That's true.
out of 55 or so live action remakes, or 55 animated films, and we have almost
Yeah.
20% of them remade. Ultimately, they're going to get to Black
Let's see, we're
Cauldron,
coming back
and
to
I am
Poppins,
so
yeah.
all in
Yeah,
for
yeah.
live action.
Yeah. A live action, like revisiting Black Cauldron in live action would be awesome, dark, and cool.
And
I'm in.
actually, that would be something I would go 5 seasons on.
Yeah. I mean,
'Cause that's-
and turn it into a TV show, put it on the live stream
There's 5 books.
on the service.
There's 5 books. It's not Black Cauldron's the second book in the series. The entire series, the entire Prydain Adventures is what they're called. Is Prydain Chronicles.
So do you
It's
have
so phenomenal.
an email, a strongly worded letter to old Disney about what they should do?
I will. I will write.
No. I mean, I honestly think, man, that's what they need to be spending their time on. Is something to rival the Game of Thrones is out there. Bring a property you have. You did Black Cauldron. That was one of the first video games I ever played. Was back in the day.
Right.
The first PC games, I should say, was the Black Cauldron game.
Mhm.
And you type in your stuff and you do your thing, but like, how cool would that be to bring that back now and do a Game of Thrones style TV show?
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. Speaking of Lord of the Rings, I never read Lord of the Rings when I was a kid.
Right.
I read the Prydain Chronicles.
Mhm.
Those were my stories. I was all in on, Terran the pig keeper,
Exactly.
and Princess Islandwe, and all. I mean, those were my characters.
Yep.
And the freaking Horned King is one of the most devastatingly scary
Right.
childhood villains ever.
But don't make it for young adults. Make it for adults.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that would be really interesting. So I'm not in on this Lady and the Tramp
No, and
thing.
actually, Blade makes a really good point that the story for Lady and the Tramp would make for, I think, a kind of weak live action movie. I think the only way it works is if the script they write kind of turns it into more of a West Side Story, Romeo and Juliet tale, where there's a little bit more conflict of the prim and proper female with the guy from the other side of the tracks.
Exactly. Yeah, the Black Cauldron. It was a DOS game. It was green and black, and it was literally, actually, and I actually told this story at my grandfather's funeral last year. That was one of the games I played with him.
Yeah.
On his one of those PCs he had back in the day. He was getting me, and he's the reason I'm into gaming. And it was amazing. It was really awesome.
You were mentioning green and black, right? And it just reminded me, I saw another really cool shirt on T-Fury today, and it says it's very themed like Final Fantasy, and it shows Oliver, but it's OLVR or LOVER or something.
Yeah.
It's misspelled. But in underneath it says 0 of 60 health, and it shows the green arrow. And it says, "You have failed this city. Would you like to continue?"
Continue?
And I'm like, yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, let's move on to Fox, dude. Fox has canceled Deadpool's animated series.
And I'm bitter.
And I'm bitter, and so is Donald Glover.
Oh, God, yes.
Oh, my God. He's not happy about it. There's a bunch of stories about it out there. I don't, from what I can glean, it's creative differences, but I like Kevin Smith or Mark Bernardin's explanation of it, Fat Man on Batman. He said, like, okay, Donald Glover wanted to make an awesome show, and they didn't want to make the awesome show he wanted to make.
They wanted to make a safer show?
Yeah, so they didn't make the show.
Yeah, so what does Donald Glover do?
So he leaks the Deadpool animated series script and does awesome Donald Glover things.
Yep.
And I cannot wait to see him as Lando Calrissian in...
because what word describes somebody leaking the script?
Yeah.
Scoundrel.
He's a scoundrel. He's a scoundrel. I love it. All right, man. So let's get to Marvel. So we have...
In the worst kept secret in Marvel culture.
Is it a secret?
No.
No. So Chris Evans is officially done after Avengers 4, which is kind of old news now because we didn't record last week. But it is happening. So not obviously Infinity War, but the next Avengers film, he's done.
Right.
So, and there's speculation out there. So that means he doesn't die in Infinity War. No, that's not what that means.
Yeah.
They might be misleading us altogether.
It could be a MacGuffin.
Yeah, as of right now, he's not. He's done after that movie.
Exactly.
He's contracted for that. Doesn't mean they might do another Captain America movie in the interim, right?
There's nothing in the pipeline.
Is there nothing slated? Okay. I was wondering about that.
No, because the only thing that's in between right now is Captain Marvel and Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Okay. We don't have a date for Avengers 4 though, right?
Yeah, it's next July.
Oh, okay. Well,
Or
never
next
mind
May, June, or July, something like that.
then. Right. Well, fine. Shows what I know. Okay, so James Gunn. I love this story. This just came out. I just saw this either yesterday or today. I hope this is true because that means it's going to be amazing.
Well, it has to be because if you haven't seen the Avengers Infinity War trailer yet, the whole scene where Star-Lord looks at Tony Stark and says, "Your plan is awesome, except for it sucks.
It sucks.
Let me do the plan, and therefore it might be really good." That is that is not Russo voice.
That's James Gunn.
That is James Gunn voice.
Yeah, and this is somebody who's done 2 Guardians movies. The dialogue is brilliant. The humor is brilliant, and I hope. So we're bearing the lead, obviously, but the speculation is, and I don't know if this is confirmed or not, but James Gunn wrote dialogue for the Guardians of the Galaxy characters.
Yeah, well,
Avengers.
You also see it in the whole.
Yeah,
I am Groot.
Yeah,
What's your language?
And I little things like that is just really, I don't know. It speaks volumes for this universe, and really means like, okay, well, we're gonna make this film, but like, hey, come in and write the dialogue for these characters real quick.
Bench.
And they have these people that are not only willing to do it, but they want to do it, and it's their characters, and it's important.
okay, look at it this way.
They're not in it for a paycheck, is what I mean.
No, absolutely. They have somebody involved in the Marvel universe who they haven't even brought in for any creative choice, and that's Jon Favreau.
Right.
Dude, this guy is so
Favreau's just sitting there
money
like
right now. He's like, put me in, coach.
he's like, are you ready?
Yeah, seriously. When Favreau finally, it's gonna happen eventually. I mean,
Yeah.
I know he's doing a ton of work with. He's doing Star Wars upcoming, and he's doing. He did at least 2 or 3 Disney movies, and he's doing another one upcoming. I mean, he's doing Lion King right now, and then he's got the trilogy that he signed up for Star Wars. Once we get to Phase 4, they're gonna suck him in for at least one movie.
Exactly. All right. So speaking of Infinity War, let's get to this. Okay. You put this in.
First thing is, I mentioned this to Carr, but I have a link in here. A Marvel fan created an Ultimate Road to Avengers Infinity War MCU Supercut. It's about 20 minutes. But the thing is, it is so worth the watch. I would almost say we should do a trailer time of just that one day.
Yeah, sounds good.
Actually, you know what we should do? We should do that as a precursor to the thing, because it pulls everying from the first Iron Man.
Week too.
Yeah, we do everything from the first Iron Man up until the most recent one, Black Panther.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it doesn't do it chronologically. It splices it in to make sense to tell you the exact story that Infinity War is going to lead to, which is the Infinity Stones. It is really brilliantly edited.
Cool. Sounds good to me.
So watch it. Earlier we talked about how Solo is tracking for 150 million. Looks like Avengers is tracking for 200 million. So this would be, I believe, only the 3rd or 4th movie to break 200 million in opening weekend, matching, of course, Force Awakens, Jurassic World. I think that might have only hit 185.
Yeah, we'd have to look at the
Black
list again.
Panther came really close.
Yeah,
but only Avengers Ultron, I think, did it too.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So speaking of Avengers 4.
Yes. So the Russos have confirmed that if you go back and watch Civil War, it hints to what we're going to see in Civil War.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And
actually, you mean Infinity War?
No, it says Avengers 4. Not Infinity War. Avengers 4.
Wait. Say it again. Avengers 4.
4. The Russo brothers confirm that there are hints to what's going to happen in Avengers 4 in Civil War.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I thought you meant.
Right.
I don't know if you said it that way.
Not Infinity War, but Civil War.
I got you.
But Avengers 4. And this actually, Blade made a thing. His theory, Blade in the chat room says his theory with Captain America is that he dies in Infinity War, but they go back in time and bring him back in Avengers 4. I don't think they go back in time to bring him back. I think what we're going to get is the barf system that we got in Civil War when Tony Stark goes back to the night his parents died.
Right.
And he is going to use that to communicate with Cap.
No, I like that.
So I think that's the hint that they're talking about bringing from Civil War into Avengers.
So he
4.
dies in Infinity War,
but
they bring him back virtually.
Barf, yes.
Yeah, I like that idea. Okay.
All right, so there's that. Big news with Black Panther. Yeah. I will say this. 3 weeks ago when we talked about how gangbusters Black Panther was doing, I didn't think it was going to catch up to Avengers, but it officially passed Avengers to be not only the highest grossing solo superhero movie of all time, but the highest grossing superhero movie of all time.
That's amazing.
It is now 4th all time behind Force Awakens, Avatar, and Titanic.
Yeah.
And actually, the odds of it catching Titanic are very, very good.
Really?
Because
a couple weeks ago, I didn't think it was even close.
Yeah, it's really close. It's really not going to catch Avatar.
No.
And it's definitely not going to catch Force Awakens. But let me bring up how close it is to Titanic. I want to say it's less than 20 million away.
Oh, wow.
Let's see.
I mean, how much longer have we got? A couple weeks, maybe?
Well, considering, we live in this tiny town. And we lose movies almost weekly.
Yeah.
Right? Big movies like, I think Star Wars was here 3 weeks.
Yeah.
We had Black Panther here for 6 weeks.
Which is a big deal for us.
We just lost it this week.
Yeah.
Which
is a bummer because I really wanted to see it again.
Right. So right now, as of today, as of last night's grosses, Black Panther's at 655, 623.
Okay.
Titanic is at 659, 363. It's 3.5 million
5
away.
million, yeah. Okay. All right.
So it's going to catch it this weekend.
Crazy.
But it's another 101 million to Avatar.
Yeah. So this was a story that I had in for. Oh wait, we have another Black Panther story.
Where
are we skipping that one?
Oh, this is huge. Okay. I'm going to bury the little bit here, and I'm actually going to steer away from Marvel and go back to DC. If you remember when Wonder Woman came out, there was the huge drama that Wonder Woman was not going to play in certain countries because she was Israeli.
Yep. We talked about that a lot, actually.
We did. And it just shows how characters and the actors that portray them can definitely be polarizing. Black Panther is officially going to become the first movie to be publicly screened at movie theaters in Saudi Arabia in 3.5 decades.
Really?
Not 3.5 years, 35 years.
Whew.
In that time, they've only had state-controlled, publicly screened films.
That's crazy.
They haven't, they never got the Star Wars, 35 years. So 35 years ago is, what, you're looking at?
No, that was
1983.
a few years after I was born.
83. They did not get Return of the Jedi.
I'm turning 39 in a few days. That's, yeah.
They didn't get Back to
early
the Future.
80s.
They did not get Forrest Gump.
That's crazy.
They didn't get Titanic.
That's
They
crazy.
didn't get Star Wars: Force Awakens. But Black Panther's going to be the first movie in 35 years to play in Saudi Arabia.
That's a big deal, man.
That's a huge deal, especially for such a country that proposes itself to be striving for modernity, but really doesn't.
Right.
This is a big step.
Crazy, dude.
I mean, this is on kin to a couple years ago when they started. Not this bad, but when they started letting women drive a couple years ago.
Right.
That's more groundbreaking. But
obviously, but still,
I mean, this isn't like it's the Omar Khayyam movie from a couple years ago called The Keeper. You're not looking at an Islamic Arabic writer who's world renowned around the world. You're looking at a movie created by and starring African Americans being the key word there,
right?
About a society that really has nothing to do with Saudi Arabia. Crazy. That's major. Sorry, that's my history geek coming out.
No, it's fine, dude. I mean, it's a huge deal.
Absolutely,
huge deal. So speaking of things that are not a huge deal, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It might be on the bubble for season 6. And from what it
was on the bubble after season 1.
It was.
It's been pretty safe since then.
But I think what's interesting about this is we watched the first 3 seasons, 2.5, 3 seasons, something like that. And I like the show. For me, it's a hard time. I have a hard time keeping things in the rotation as long if it's not like the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's hard to keep it in the every week watching rotation, and then you end up binging it some summer day.
Right, and we might go. I would like to go back to it maybe over the summer.
I stopped watching episode 11 of season 1.
Yeah,
I'm way behind.
Yeah,
I'm kind of curious about how much of this has to do with the fact that last week we got news that Clark Gregg, Phil Coulson, is being pulled into Captain Marvel. Granted, Captain Marvel does take place in the 90s.
It makes sense.
The fact that they're actually acknowledging that Coulson is in the Marvel universe and he's pulling him back to the big screen.
And there's some other folks, I guess, that are going to be pulled into that as well.
Nick Fury.
Into Marvel, into Captain Marvel, which I think is good. So we'll see. All right, man. So let's get to some stuff that I just want to run through real quick. Do you want to do the SMOD later?
Yeah, let's do SMOD later. And you can skip Wizarding World.
Okay. So I'll cut this out.
Yeah, let's skip the Netflix.
Skip that.
Yeah, let's hit conventions and then hit SMOD and then we're done.
Okay. So Stan Lee has confirmed his next, and I'm really bummed about this. You know what his next deal is going to be? So he's confirmed his next, after his break, his next appearance at a Comic-Con or at a convention is going to be, any guesses?
I'm guessing it's the former Kamikaze in L.A.
That's going to be a big fat nope. That's going to be Silicon Valley Comic-Con, which you almost ran him over 2 years ago.
I know, right?
And
that's this weekend. He's going to be there?
He'll be there this weekend.
Oh, I thought that was early. I was giving it till after Comic-Con.
Nope. This weekend, Stan Lee will be at Silicon Valley Comic-Con, which we were at the first one. We missed last year and we'll miss this year. But hopefully next year we'll come back to it. I like to make it a regular thing. It seems to fluctuate more than I like, date-wise.
It does.
You know?
Yeah, which it's. I mean, like because the first time we were able to go because it was right near spring break.
Right.
Second time it was right near your anniversary, so we couldn't go.
Right. And then this year is obviously a wash too.
Right.
But
but
anyway,
a couple of quick stories that I didn't put in here. But if you remember the thing about Stanley's blood got stolen, right? Did you hear about that?
Wait, what?
Some of his blood got stolen.
From what?
I think the hospital or something like that. But evidently, it turns out that somebody had used it to sign his comics with the
weird.
blood. Really kind of weird. I didn't read the whole article.
Oh, but there's a lot of people who do sign with blood,
Right.
As part of a thing. But
that's weird. Second of all, there's actually going to be a new convention starting in Vegas next year, so it might be something we should look into as well.
Cool. All right. Let's do Comic-Con stuff. The big thing is I'm gonna put this out here. Patrick Rothfuss, he is an amazing writer, and read what is it called? Yeah, The Name of the Wind is a phenomenal book. He's written 2 books in what I only hope is more than a trilogy. I only put this in here because at WonderCon, he was there. And I'm really hoping he's there for San Diego Comic-Con. That's the only reason I put this story in here, because he's an amazing author. Read the book. It's phenomenal. audibletrial.com/usual podcast. I listened to it on audiobook, and actually both of them. And they're phenomenal books.
That's another thing. If WonderCon wasn't so... the date wasn't so far
I know, it's
off
always
us,
a funky
I would love
date.
to go to WonderCon.
And we could do a Disneyland thing,
I know,
too. It'd
right?
be cool, yeah. But I'm hoping he shows up to San Diego Comic-Con, which literally is the only reason I put this in here. Skiing, Name of the Wind is the sickness, I know. Hotel... I don't even have to say this. The hotel lottery was yesterday.
Yes.
And so if you're listening to this, obviously it's too late. But I'm waiting to kind of see how it went.
Zen says he's hearing back on Monday.
And so we'll hear from Zen and some other folks. So we'll report back next time. I have a link in here that has to do with some VR stuff that's going to happen at San Diego. And I guess the same company, I think it's Void, that does the Star Wars Stormtrooper virtual reality thing down at downtown Disney,
right,
and some other locations. They're doing a thing down there as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's already been some VR stuff. I mean, if you remember, we went to Geek HQ at the Children's Museum Nerd HQ a couple years ago at the Children's Museum, and we got to do that VR game of that London Heist was the name of the game. And then, of course, the Oculus always does the Game of Thrones thing.
And I think what's interesting is we'll keep you abreast on this stuff, because these are the kind of things you're going to have to make an appointment for and pay for ahead of time. In downtown Disney, you can easily make appointments. It's $30 a pop. And, it's an hour or so or whatever, and you do a whole thing. So
this is where the same sort of thing where we got to sample Battlefront.
Yes, but the way they do it downtown Disney every time is it's very basically that, but all time.
Right.
So it's like they're doing this whole thing. So I'm hoping they do it. I would really like to do it. Good luck, Zen. Anybody else who was in Hotel Apocalypse. And the last thing here is Petco Interactive Zone is getting a whole new makeover. So that whole parking lot area by Petco is getting a whole thing. We have a link in the show notes to it.
The park itself, inside the stadium, it's gone over a couple. I mean, Walking Dead had something in there before. Last year it was the Impractical Jokers gang had it. We had Camp Nerdist a couple of years ago. But it looks like it's a total revamp. And it's really cool for people because they accept people that don't have tickets. Yeah.
And it's something, yet one more thing people can do offsite that don't have badges.
So please, even if you don't have badges, come and visit us.
Yeah, exactly. So off mic-ish, sort of. Do we want to do a brief thing on RPO, or do we want to do a separate deal? We're running a little over.
How about we just give our quick overall thoughts, and if you want a more in-depth one, we can record one middle of next week.
Good. All right, let's do it. So this is the moment where
Actually, we can do that one as a bonus for.
yeah,
future
we'll do
episodes.
that. So we're gonna do a quick review of RPO. Ready Player One. We saw it on opening night, and since we didn't record right after or the next day,
Which is my fault. Blame
it's
Mom.
fine. It's been a week, and the movie's been out. So if you don't want spoilers, we're not gonna go super in depth. I just want to say a few things about it, and then I'd love to come back maybe next week and talk a little more in depth about it. But overall, it took. I'm gonna say it this way. It took my wife and I, who we both read the book, and obviously I've been teaching the novel for a few years. It took us a couple, I'd say 25, 30 minutes of talking back and forth as the movie was going. The beginning was fine. You know, it mirrored the book enough to where we're like, okay, that's fine. And then things started happening. We're like, wait, did this happen? And the wife, because I mean, you know,
Hello, Shining.
yeah, she's like, did this happen? Did this happen? And I was like, no. And once we got past, and honestly, I have a lot of students who are upset about the movie, and I will tell every single one of them this. First of all, thank you for reading a book.
Yes.
Second of all, I'm glad you feel the way I have always felt about reading a book and then going to see a movie. It's never going to be the same. That said, I like the fact that they just said, okay, here's this world, here's this book. We're going to go this way with it, right?
Yes.
And this is Spielberg's vision of Ready Player One. Now, first of all, visually, beautiful. I think they did most of the characters well. But ultimately, I like the fact that they took this world and they made it into a thing that it really could have been anything. They could have told any story, and
They turned it into a sandbox.
yeah, and it really doesn't matter what story they told. It was the fact that there are these 3 challenges, there are people trying to get it, and there's a bad guy, and this is it. That was bottom line what that book was
Yep.
about. But I really, really, really enjoyed what they did with it, and what it took for us was letting go of the fact that, all right, this is nothing like the book. Now let's see what they do in this world.
Yes.
And that was it. And that was it for me.
Okay, I've got 3 things to say.
Go.
One is a rationalization, one is a comparison, and one is just what my favorite thing about it was. One, if they had done everything that was in the book, it would have not only been about a $600 million budget, but it would have been about a 6-hour-long movie.
And not only that, Sam would have been in the movie for about 30 seconds.
Yes.
Like at the end. In real life, I mean.
Yes.
You know.
All right. Second, a comparison. If anybody, like the exact opposite, this was a very well-read book before the movie came
Sure.
out. Forrest Gump is based on 2 books. And those books were not widely read before the movie came out.
Indeed.
Watch the movie and then read the books. So far different, not only in story, but also in tone. But they're just as good. Okay?
Night, Zen.
You're able to make a really good film, even though it is different from the source material. Later. Good night.
CRPO do it. Yeah, we'll do a spoiler review. Don't worry.
Okay. And then the third thing, my favorite thing about it is I love film scores.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing about this film was that Alan Silvestri, who is, speaking of Forrest Gump, he did the score for Forrest Gump. He did the
Nice.
score for Back to the Future. He has definite pop culture cred. He was so brilliant about this because he picked and chose little, what are called sound cues
Yeah.
from older scores and put them in opportune times. For example, somebody gets punched at the end of the movie, and the cue that happens is the same exact cue that happens when George McFly punches Biff
Yeah,
Tannen
that's good.
at the car at the Enchantment of the Sea dance
And
in
it
Back
looks-
to the Future.
And that was one of the things that I felt that a lot of my my students and the people who've read the book wouldn't get,
Wouldn't grasp, yeah.
because a lot of this movie wasn't for them.
No.
A lot of this movie was references to our childhood because that was Ernest Cline's childhood.
Exactly.
And I felt bad, but they did on the flip side of that, they did a really good job of putting more modern pop culture references into it. Halo and stuff like that. They managed to do that, but at the same time, a lot of those little nuances, those 80s specific nuances,
Yeah.
were for us.
Everyone talks about Generation X, which I'm firmly planted in, and in the millennial generation, which is a lot of the kids that you're teaching, and
Right.
older. But there's a micro generation in between that actually you and I are more fitting in, and it goes from 75 to 85. People born from 75 to 85, and they're what's called the Oregon Trail generation.
Right.
And that is specifically the micro generation that this film was made for. Because there were sound cues from Last Crusade, there were sound cues from Jaws, or
Exactly.
everything. It was just brilliant. I thought, we talked about it a couple weeks ago how.
Yeah, I want to talk about that, Blake. Good. Go ahead.
We talked about a couple weeks ago about how they're releasing The Last Jedi in a score-only version without the sound effects and without the dialogue.
Yeah.
I would like to hear a score-only version of this, so all you see are the visual cues with the music cues. I would love to see that.
Exactly. Blake brings up a good point, and that was actually one of my favorite parts about the film as well, is how they took a character as he had a similar role, but a role you didn't see as much in the book that you saw in the movie. You got to see a little more from not his perspective. Well, I guess his perspective too was IROC. You get to see him in the basement being kind of a jerk, people kind of making fun of him and stuff. But he was integral in Sorrento getting to where he was in the book.
Yeah, he was
right?
a key henchman. Basically.
He was a henchman.
And T.J. Miller did a really good job voicing.
Well, and when you get him voicing it, and then you also get the fact that he's up to mischief, it was so much fun watching that character unfold and knowing that they had to get through him to get beyond. And
Yes.
and I liked that they took a character that was obviously you knew that he had a role, but he was more of like a nuisance to the characters. But in the grand scheme of it, you knew he had a bigger role.
Right.
And the movie did a good job of not only dealing with him, but I think also Samantha's character.
Mm-hmm.
Also the fact that like they changed obviously the whole story about her bringing him in and all of that.
And
but
I thought that was great.
But I think they did a good job of making that to where then they could develop that relationship sooner and meet prior to all of these things that you see in the book.
Yeah,
and I thought that was good.
And I thought the actors who played Wade and Sam had great chemistry.
Yeah.
Both in the digital Oasis and also
Yeah, they did
in
a
the
good
real
job.
life. I really liked it.
Well, and also hats off to Spielberg and his imagining of this film is the fact that I didn't think they would actually do most of the film. I'd say 80% of it was animated.
Yeah.
They spent a lot of money on getting that right and making sure that when we were in the Oasis, we were in the Oasis. And the other really cool thing that I think that you don't get in the book, and this is what I was trying to tell a couple other people, some students too, is the book is a first-person point of view.
Yes.
And in a movie, you can do that, but you also have to show other things, and you have a little more freedom. What I really, really enjoyed about the film was the fact that you got to see other people interacting in the Oasis that wasn't Wade. So
Exactly.
you see people on their couches shooting invisible monsters and stuff like that. I just thought
Or
that was...
pole dancing.
Yeah, you get to see a whole world, a whole bunch of people in the real life in a crappy existence interacting in a world that was amazing.
My
I thought
favorite
that
was
cool.
when there was a fire going on in the stove, and the mom was trying to. The daughter was trying to get the attention of the mom, and the mom falls over the back of the couch saying, "Get your dad."
Yeah. I love it. And I mean, we do that now. I mean, I game with people that have kids. I have kids, and it's like when my kids come in the room, it's like, hold on a second. I got to finish being this boss, and
Exactly.
we do that, but it's another thing to see people fully moving and interacting.
Yeah, because that's something you can definitely do in a movie that you can't do in a book. In a book, you can't really describe the background images without pulling. Here, you can focus on the primary
Right.
person and still have so much going on in the background.
Exactly. So ultimately, man, I really enjoyed the film for what it was. Outside of once you separate it from the book, it was a really cool film.
Yes.
And it was definitely a very Spielberg film. It was pop culture heavy. It was it was a crap ton of fun.
Yeah, well, speaking about the CGI really quick, a lot of people forget that Spielberg has history of that with Polar Express.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
good point.
Yeah.
And that movie, yeah, absolutely. And my kids, my mom loves that movie. Anything else about RPO, dude? I mean,
I'm probably gonna go see it again this week.
I'd like to see it again as well.
Yeah, because I mean it's your birthday coming up, so we'll go see it and have some drinks.
Yeah, and I think maybe we'll do should we do a drunk RPO cast?
Oh, absolutely.
That would be fun to do. But honestly, man, as an English teacher, I'm actually really happy that that the movie is so different than the book, because then I can continue to teach the book and not have to worry about kids going, "I'll just go watch the movie."
Well, but the real cool thing is now you can teach the book, then show the movie, and show
and then we can talk about
the importance
exactly.
of how story can change without altering quality.
And the cool part about that too is the beginning of my unit, or the beginning of my school year, talks about heroes, anti-heroes, and storytelling, and we talk about the hero's journey and all of that, and then bookending it with, we're still in pop culture, we're still talking about Spielberg, we're talking about these things, but like, let's talk about, all right, so we have the original content and we have the creator's content, and what can we do, what can we talk about within that? I think that's
exactly.
good. I think that's really cool.
And Blay in the chat, he brings up one of my favorite quotes from the movie is, "Well, I thought you were bluffing. I've got like 10 years worth of shit on me, right?" And what happened is when that thing went off and IROC is disintegrating, you can literally see his hand trying to catch the coin.
Well, I love the visuals of that, because there's a weight that comes to death in MMOs. I mean, well, in gaming in general. And in a game like this, it's like they make a good point of zeroing out. They say, zeroing out. Okay, so you worked really hard, you leveled your character, and when you die, you lose your shit. And literally, your gold, everything that you've earned starts to fall off of you.
Yeah,
and the visual of that was really cool. If you didn't have it
locked in a cargo or anything like that, if it was on your body, you're losing it.
Yeah, and I think IROC would be one of those people that would keep it all on him, and I think that was I don't know. I like that character. I like what they did with Sam. The H actress, I think with H was a little interesting. And the modulation they did with the voice of the avatar was a little hard to understand in the beginning.
Yes.
But those are minor quibbles. I mean, honestly, like, once you let go of the fact that it's not the same exact plot of the book, which I'm actually glad about, it was a really fun movie and a really beautifully told and well-imagined movie. And I'm glad Spielberg had his hands in it.
Yeah, because I think they really could have gotten lost themselves in the concept of what happens in the Waste. Like when Wade in the books makes so much money in endorsements, and all of a sudden he's got the apartment and the wicked suit and all that stuff, and that all fell by the wayside because it was unimportant to the actual story.
And also, on that note, the Ogden Morrow character I thought was interesting because they never actually used him in the way they did in the book. He came in later, and not only that, he was there the whole time. And I like the fact that he was the custodian.
Simon Pegg was awesome.
Yeah, and I like that he was the custodian the whole time. Not custodian? Curator the whole time. I like that he was the curator the whole time. And I like how they did the coin. I like it's like, oh, I lost a bet. Here's a coin. And he didn't have to, we didn't have to watch a character play Pac-Man for 9 hours like he did in the book, because who would want to watch that? I like how they did it. It's like, okay, here's a coin. I lost a bet. And that coin is what made it so you can actually win the game.
Yes.
And I thought that was cool. I would have liked to see Ogden Morrow's character a little earlier, but we did and didn't know it. So I thought that was cool. So
cool. I think that's it.
All right, man. So thanks for tuning in to The Usual Podcast. If you have comments or questions, you can find us at theusualpodcast.com. Email us at theusualpodcast@gmail.com. And we're on Facebook, Google+, Pinterest, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. Find us on Twitter. I am at Darth Pops. Will is at I am Will Griggs. iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, all those things. Share us, like us, tell your friends. Support the show. We are Patreon. We are Patreon. Patreon.com/theusualpodcast. Seriously, we have a bunch of ways to support us on there. Bunch of tiers, a newsletter, blooper reel, all kinds of stuff. Check us out there. And audibletrial.com/usualpodcast. Get a free audiobook on us through Amazon. And, of course, teespring.com/store/usual podcast. Buy t-shirts and iPhone cases and all that kind of stuff. And all that stuff, honestly, supports us. And Extra Life, we have a t-shirt up there on Teespring to support Extra Life, which, of course, we'll give to charity. And thank you to everybody who does all of those things. And by the gods, man, I'm glad to be back.
Good show. Good show.
I'm glad to have a week off coming up, too.
All right. Everybody, thanks for coming in, and make sure you have fun.
Have a fun. We'll see you all next week.
Peace.
Awkward silence. Thank you, chat room. Thank you. Thanks, Jar Jar. Oh, thanks, man. I can't wait. I'm playing golf for 2 days in a row. It's going to be the best thing ever. I'm playing Spanish Bay. I'm stoked. Spanish Bay. My brother works at Spanish Bay. I'm excited. I'm playing Napa on Saturday, too. So I'm going to play hella golf. I'm going to drink some beers. It's going to be great. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Really, really appreciate it. I'm going to take the Delio down now. I'll see you all later. If I had an RPO pop figure, who would I want? Blaze asking. Movie or not movie? That's the question. If it's a movie, I want IROC. Because I love that avatar.
You know, honestly, you know who I would like? And, you know, don't think odd of me. I want the freaking IOI minion.
Oh, that'd be cool
I
too.
just like the visual of it.
Yeah, Sorrento's avatar in the movie was pretty cool too. But if we're talking the book, I would want I'd probably want H or Daito Shoto. More Daito Shoto, just because I like katanas and samurais. All right. We're out of here. Later, Blay. Have a good week, man.